Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Talking about this today, if you want to look at it and not my face. It probably looks quite weird, but you can probably see lenses on it. And this is a 360 camera. Now, I've been using 360 cameras actually in my work. I work in real estate. And when 360 cameras first came out, I started using them when I walk around properties, just to catch some kind of cool, novel, different content. And a lot of people thought it was quite cool. You could look around. You know, it was when... Probably this was in like 2016, 2017, when everyone was like, oh my God, VR's here. And we're still not in VR full world, 9 years later. So I started using them. So when I started filming Airsoft content in 2020, I had a few of these cameras around. And what I realized is I think they're pretty good in terms of shooting stuff, of filming content in the Airsoft gameplay space. Now, I don't post a huge amount of gameplay content, as you're probably aware. I am not the best editor in the world, and I don't enjoy putting a huge amount of time into editing, which is why I like having these more conversation style shoot it and post it videos with you guys. But I did put up quite a bit of YouTube gameplay Airsoft content, and it didn't do very well. I don't know if I'm just a very bad Airsoft player, but people don't really like watching me play Airsoft apparently. So I shoot content a lot. I don't actually use it as much as I probably should do. But when I have been editing it, I absolutely love this thing. So I was going to talk through not just this, but actually just 360 cameras in Airsoft and my experience of having them, using them, if I'd recommend them. And I thought, again, that might be quite valuable to you guys, because some people are probably out there thinking, should I get a 360 camera? Is it worth me getting a 360 camera? And hopefully this will help. So basically what I'm going to go through in this video is kind of some differences between this and using a regular camera. I'm going to go through some mounting options, because as you can see, this is how I currently mount it, and I have to say I actually really like the mount that I now use for it, but it took me a long time to find it. And so I'll go through some of the other options that I bought and I was using prior to actually finding this one. Then I'm also going to go through the advantages and disadvantages of using this kind of camera in Airsoft, again, compared to other stuff, and also the editing process. It's not like shooting a still 2D video where you can just cut it into sections and then, edit it and post it. There's more stuff involved with using a 360 camera, so I'll kind of go through that at the start. Okay, so why use a 360 camera in Airsoft? I think the main reason is that it's different. No, it's not the main reason it's different. I think the big advantage of this is the Insta360 One X. There are some newer models. I've actually got the X3, which is what I use currently. I think Insta360, which is one of the better 360 camera companies, are up to their X4 now, I think. And they have different variations. So this is quite an old one. As you can see, it's kind of quite battered and bruised up just from me playing Airsoft. And I used it mainly because it wasn't my newest one, and I put lens protectors on my other ones, but with this one I was like, if it gets shot out, it's not one I'm using for anything else, so I'd rather have the content be a bit clearer than putting lens protectors on it. But what I love about this is, as it's got lenses on both sides, it is effectively capturing 360 content. So it's not just, oh, well, that lens is facing this way, it's shooting there, and that lens is facing this way, it's shooting there. It's shooting everything, and then in post-production, when you're opening the file, sorry, it's stitching everything together. So you are effectively capturing everything. And so I'm sure you may have been in a gameplay situation where you've been like, oh, damn, I wish I was looking that way with my head-mounted GoPro because I just missed such a cool thing. Or someone shot me from the side and they came out of nowhere and it would have looked awesome. Anything like that. All you have to know is that whenever you've got this thing running, everything around you is being captured. So I've got some really cool stuff before where it's like over my shoulder, as I've just been talking about, or even if I have dropped this down to my front, gone for my secondary, it's still filming. So it's not like, oh, the GoPro mount on the rifle, it's only looking forward. This is also looking back up at me. So I'm actually able to kind of capture content everywhere. And with that as well, I know some people really like doing this kind of thing, and I do actually like this a lot, is where you mount a GoPro, like a small one like this Sessions, onto here, so you actually have the view back towards your face. And I do think when you see content, it's quite immersive being able to see that. You almost want to be able to see what the person's doing. I can do that with this. It is a bit obstructed depending on what site that I'm using, but it basically will look back towards my face. And what I like is if I've got it on this side, and I could have it on the other side, but if I have it on this side, it's not really getting in my vision because my sight's here, so I'm not really seeing that zone. But it's also, if I've got a gas blowback and the bolt's reciprocating, it captures that as well. So I think that's pretty awesome. I know you might be like, oh, that's really neither here nor there. This is actually mounted at the moment on my Tokyo Marui NGRS. So this is a recoil AEG, and it does really well on this. I mean, you get sort of the footage where it's very cool, but and you're actually getting kind of smooth footage. And on the newer cameras, it is going to be a lot smoother. But because the recoil is not kind of big, it's like a small, slight recoil. It is kind of cool that you kind of get that impression of like a little boom, like a little buzz on the footage. Anyway, I like it. I think some people it'll drive them crazy and would love to do that afterwards if they wanted to add it. But I do think it's quite cool. So that's cool that you can just capture everything. Better for viewing gameplay. I mean, you could technically upload the file and have someone put on VR headset and they could look around and effectively have the vision from the front there. That could work. However, I've never really done that, or I've never seen anyone doing that. What you can do though is with Insta360, I know they do this, probably with most other 360 cameras companies like GoPro's one. You can literally go on your phone and then you can swipe and just look where, oh, I want to look that way. So you can just swipe and look that way. Or you can do the opposite and you can do a different one, use the phone's gyro to look around. So you might want to just kind of look at, replay a gameplay situation, see what you were doing, see how bad your mag reload was or something like that. And you can go back and actually watch it depending on where you want to look. So I think that's kind of cool, being able to view your gameplay in that way. And also you've got so many different options. You could take different clips from the same file, whether that's looking forward and looking backwards. You could play the same file, capture two different clips, and then play them one after another. And technically they're different videos, but they're from the same 360 recording. So there's so many different levels with that. And again, the editing I think is really cool. So how I normally edit from this is, and I'll go through this in a bit more detail at the end, but what I normally do is I'll shoot the clip. I can literally just hit the power button. It'll start recording. I won't normally record the whole game. I'll just record moments if I'm going into a situation, if I'm starting to fire, if I've got a target, something like that. I'll hit the record button. I'll have that clip afterwards, and I can just Bluetooth onto my phone, and I'll see on my phone the actual file. And then what I can do is hit record, and whichever direction I am pointing the phone in the file, it's going to record that and put it, and I can do it in like a wide angle view. I could do it in a normal view. And if I miss it and I don't record the right way, I just scrap that and then I just do it again. And so it might take me 5 or 10 times to point the phone in the right direction to capture the right moment. And it's great having like a chair like this where you can swing around. But normally I'll stand up and I'll do it. But that is really cool, just to be able to like be flexible on the editing and framing that you can do afterwards. You can also track subjects. So if I have someone walking in front of me or behind, I can just draw a little box on them and the actual video will just track where they're walking. Like the amount of tech now that's come out in 360 cameras and the quality of them has got so much better that I do think it's a pretty good way to use it. However, it did take me a while to work out how to mount this thing. I right now mount it like this, and I'll show you just quickly what the camera looks like without this mount. This is actually not very expensive, and it is made by a real steel company. Let me just get this out. This is the camera. It's very light. It literally is the easiest thing to use to charge. The newer ones do actually have like a little screen on here which you can see stuff, which I kind of think is actually a bad thing in a way, because that's giving you another thing to get shot out. But you can get screen protectors that just go on this side and on that side, so if it gets clipped by a BB, it's not gonna go. I've actually got some scratches on the lens of this one. which isn't ideal. But again, you know, if they're scratched, the quality of the video is going to come out bad as it would do on a normal camera. But, you know, it's going to be usable, and I have actually just continued to use this even though it has some of those scratches there. Or if it gets a scratch on the lens protector, you take that off, you change it, and you're all good. The mounts that I actually ended up going through, one of them was this. So I actually had a Picatinny rail on one of mine. So this mount I found, this one's by Stinger. And it's kind of a cool mount for sure. It's got this flexible arm on it. And the flexible arm's great because you can position it and it's pretty solid. So anything which takes that regular kind of camera jack, the camera screw, you literally can just take one of these cameras, screw it on. And this is going to vary camera to camera, of course. But this basically allowed me to mount this to either Picatinny with this bit, or it actually has an attachment you can put onto it which mounts it to M-LOK. So I could mount it straight on the side here if I wanted to, and then I have that, or alternatively I could mount it with the Picatinny and then turn this the other way around, whatever I wanted to do. So flexibility wise, this was great because it allowed me to put the camera in a lot of different locations. However, it's long and it's big, and so when you're running around with this thing like on your gun, it's definitely probably cool for the actual footage you're going to capture back on yourself, but it's not that great in terms of practicality, and it looks very, very strange if you're going for more of a milsim feel. The other thing is I would a lot of the time run the 360 for that point of view, or the flexible point of view, and then I really like an FPV point of view, and when this is mounted on the actual gun, you don't have FPV. So I would normally basically put one of my GoPros, and you know these mounts for sure, one of my GoPro just helmet mounts, and then I would have that as well. And so if you have your FPV view and then this is dangling off your replica, it does look weird, and so it might kill the vibe of the gameplay slightly. I've seen other people who'll mount it like on a shoulder, like I think a lot of the sniper guys do, maybe like Kicking Mustang and a few of those have done that before, and I think that works quite well. But I do think when you're jogging around and it's moving, it doesn't necessarily have the same effect. And also if it's stuck on you, like this whole side is blocked, so you're filming out there, and you can get cameras which have a lot better quality in terms of zooming in than this will. So I really like having it gun mounted. So I had this, it's fine, didn't really love it, but it was okay. This is another version that I got. Manufacturer of this, I don't know. If you look up kind of like M-LOK mounted 360 camera M-LOK mount, you should be able to find a few. Again, this would attach here and it would go on the side of the replica. Again, I mean, that's fine, but it wasn't exactly great. You know, it's still in the way. It's still a pretty bulky, weird thing to have on your gun. And another one I had actually was this one. So this one is by Vism, VISM, a division of NC Star. But that is kind of like a Picatinny mount with a big flat thing on. So it's kind of good. It mounts to the top rail. So if you haven't got an M-LOK or you want to switch it between, you've got that option. But again, it's got a big flat platform sticking out. And then you've got this, which is fine. But that is normally a mount for your GoPro kind of thing, and then you've got the same screw underneath, so you can just put that onto this. So there's different mounts that you can do, and I think most of them work. It's just I was playing around for a long time trying to say, hey, do I mount this in a certain place? And I came up with actually having it in that location for me was great. It meant that I could look forward and see the front of the barrel, like actually where it was shooting. I could look back at myself. I could look sideways both ways. So like that for me was the perfect mounting area. Now this is by a company that a lot of you will know, Midwest Industries. It's a real steel. They make a lot of different parts like handrails, etc. So it's very good quality. It literally just goes onto the M-LOK there, and it just has this little kind of like hoop tray. And you probably, when it's on there, think, oh, well, that's no good because it can only sit that way. Well, yes, it can, but it is filming everywhere. So if you're right here, probably the stitch line from the edge of that camera isn't going to be great, but generally it's going to capture everything. So it's it's not a big deal if it's facing forwards, sideways, as long as there's enough distance between you and what you're filming. Even if it's like on this edge, it should stitch it pretty well. And again, very camera dependent. If you've got a newer camera, that's going to be better for you for doing that for sure. So that was the Midwest Industries M-LOK mount, and it costs around $20. So for me and how much I spend on my replicas, that's an absolute bargain. I don't know if you agree. But if you are thinking about mounting onto the front of your rail a 360 camera, kind of a high one, probably like this, I would say having that, and for me, I'm right-handed, having that on my front right side of my rail, that for me was has been perfect. I need to do it more often, and actually I've been playing indoors a lot, and I don't know how those perform inside. Again, camera dependent. If it's a lot darker, you know, I'll play around with that. Actually, it's a good idea. Okay, so other things, I actually mounted it on my helmet before, which again made me look like an idiot, like this big kind of thing sticking out of my head. That symbol, you can kind of take what you want from it, like a unicorn. But yeah, I didn't really like it. It was pointless. I think if you've got a GoPro and you're pointing it there, that's the advantage of that FPV, is like you're looking where your view is. So for me, what became amazing was having this one, the 360, and then sometimes I would even have the scope cam on the end, like a little like aiming cam at the very end of here. So then it would almost be like you could do the zoomed in shots of where it hit someone. You could also do the around you 360, and then you also had your FPV. You could cut between the different files. I hated doing it. It just takes me so long to do it, but you had that option. So yeah, so that was helmet. You could also do a chest mount. I actually had like a little clip that went on my plate carrier, but again, it just kind of moved around. I like to run around a lot in Airsoft, and you know, if I was going round a corner, you couldn't really see where my gun was because it was up on here. You couldn't really see where I was aiming, so it didn't work as well for me there. And yeah, the blurry kind of stitch lines just didn't work really well. So apart from, I like that setup because it's really low profile. It holds it in a very secure way, and it always kind of keeps the camera aligned with the replica. So it's almost like, you know, when you have a skateboard with a camera on it, you can always just see where the gun is, and it kind of is that scope cam style, which I just really like, because you can also just angle it and aim it. So for me, that was kind of the good thing. So I'll go through some downsides of using a 360 camera. If you're like, oh my god, this is the best thing ever, I'm going to get one right now. Here are a few of the downsides. Editing time. It is going to be a lot longer to edit it. You have a lot more control and you can get a lot more clips and files, but you are going to have to go through and basically point the camera or your phone in the direction that you want to capture, which is kind of satisfying because you're getting different angles, but it will take longer because then you do that, then you have to cut them down, then you have to edit them, and you'll have to use multiple different things. You're going to have to use the 360 cameras app, then you're going to use your editing software. So if you're good at editing, amazing, but it will take longer. Image quality at distance. Now that again with the newer cameras is better, but if you are wanting to get the image you're going to get on a 4K GoPro, or the image straight out to, you know, 50 feet more that you're actually aiming at, you're going to lose quality as you zoom it in, and that like lens isn't small, but the amount it's like taking in is, you know, the entire area. So your actual like megapixels per area is going to be small. So you can zoom in, it's just the quality is going to go in those very fine environments. So it's good for a certain distance. I wouldn't say it's kind of like very, very good far out. It's a bit unwieldy. Obviously, you've got that attached to your replica. If you're kind of swinging it around, it can get caught on things. It can get held up. You know, it can get damaged. You can hit people with it. You know, it's not the most wieldy thing. It's not your slick replica or, you know, firearm that you've kind of put in that way. By the way, this isn't real. This is a fake firearm. It's an Airsoft toy, just in case anyone's watching and wondering. Other things are the potential lens damage. Like, you've basically got lenses on both sides. If it's attached to your replica and you're dropping your replica, you're you know, using a sling with it and you're pulling your secondary and you're letting it hang and it's banging or scratching on things, you're going to get lens scratches like that. and you're going to get just kind of wear and tear. You can negate that by putting lens protectors on it. It's probably going to make the quality of the footage a little worse, but that's just something to bear in mind. So yeah, as I was saying, for editing mine, I would literally just get the file, try and remember when I actually did something. So you're kind of going through the footage, like speeding through it and like, okay, when did that moment happen? So sometimes what a good thing to do actually is if something good happens in the day, and you're like, wow, I got a really good kill there, or we took that took a flag, or like planted the bomb, or whatever it was, then you can just like note down the time when you get back to the safe zone, because then you can go back and it doesn't take so long. So I would go in there, I'd look at the 360 file, I'd probably play it a couple of times and look around and like just on the phone, like screwing around. Then what I would do is take that moment, start the clip, hit the record button, and then just point the direction of the phone, and you can kind of be quite artistic with it. They have different modes, zoom in, small world, whatever. I find generally just pointing it like a normal camera and trying to get that file, capture that file using the phone's gyroscope, and then you would literally just put it down. Other things you could do is manually keyframe, so you could track something, or you could keep the camera on one location as you're moving it around, and that works as well. I didn't really use those as much. I don't think it's as engaging, but it's definitely longer to edit it than it is on this, and you do sometimes have those stitch lines, so it almost look like a little kind of crease in the footage. I think again, newer cameras are better with that, but you know, that's something just to bear in mind, is that will happen sometimes. And I can normally tell if I'm watching a video and someone shot it on a 360 camera. I don't know if you're the same. So who do I think would actually use a 360 camera? I think anyone who's trying to create gameplay footage, it's worthwhile just trying it out. You may just think, you know what, I like my more standard gameplay on a regular camera, but it's definitely worth trying. And if it's something where you're playing high intensity and it's going to be things going on all around you, I think that's also a good environment to have it. Probably if you're not caring as much about that milsim, everything needs to look exactly as it would look, because it is something that's going to be very hard to stitch out of your FPV view. And if you're not wanting to miss those kind of key moments, it's great for that. So I think if you want, you can at the moment use these AI programs where they'll kind of like stitch a file out of a 360 file. They're not very good. I'm sure they will get better. But in terms of low effort recording, that could be something that was fun if it worked well. However, I think with technology where it's at in AI, it's going to be a couple of years probably before that's there. So it is going to be a more higher effort recording than it will be on a regular camera. So that means extra time editing, and they can be quite bulky compared to a regular camera. You know, you're not kind of putting it right on your head where it's out of the way of stuff. You are having to put it in a spot. So overall, I love it for certain types of gameplay. I actually just don't use it as much because I don't make gameplay videos, because you guys don't like watching them. If you do like watching them and you want to write a comment and say, excuse me, please make more gameplay, I'll think about it and I will consider making more gameplay. But it has to be a lot of you who actually want to watch it and then end up watching it, liking it, sharing it, subscribing. That'd be awesome. So yeah, so I would love to know below if you guys have used a 360 camera, if you have used it in a different way, if you mount it somewhere else. This is what they look like brand new. I actually got given this. I haven't opened it, but the company used to sponsor me, not sponsor me, but they used to send me free products to review for my real estate side. So I've never opened that one, but that is now one of their older models, the 1X. They had the 1X2, the 1X3, and now I think it's the X4 might be the new one. They're quite confusing. They release cameras very, very quickly. So yeah, so let me know if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you've used a 360 camera, and let me know any ideas for future videos you'd like me to make. Speak to you guys soon. Goodbye.